Hello, everyone. All right, what I want to do right now is I want to go over sort of some of the reading and where we are in the course and where we're headed. Um, Catching up on some of the reading for evaluation, you may have figured this out, but basically, this is material in Chapter 8 of the textbook, which is all on evaluation. So this is basically what you need to read, pages 297 to 305. That gets you through section 8.3, and then 308 to 321. The statistical significance that to read, you could read it in the textbook if you want to, but I would read the paper I gave you instead, and as well the lectures and that material. I think that certainly covers my perspective on the matter very well. If you check out the book by Cheng Jai, I think you'll find a coverage of statistical significance that I more appreciate. Anyways, ranking. This is where we're headed, okay? So the reading jumps around a bit, and you'll see that it's because in the textbook, there's material early on in these lower numbers which are about ranking. And then there is material later on also about ranking. So it's kind of spread about. All right, so we've got pages 123 to 134, then 231 to 244. That takes you through section 721. And then pages 250 to 261 up to 7.3.2. Then pages 138 to 140. That gets you back. Now we're back in section 5. And in fact, the section 5 stuff is about how do we use the index to score and do things quickly. And so this is sort of intro to ranking. These are the ranking methods. Then we're back to how do we score things with an index. That's as far as I can remember after having written these notes. All right. Feel free to double check and get back to me if you don't think that's right. Okay. So where are we headed? So we've just finished evaluation. Now we're headed into ranking. So I'll give you a bit of an overview. Then we'll talk about cosine similarity, then BM25, and then I'll switch after covering these two sort of fundamental ways to do retrieval. BM25 is what you're going to implement on homework 4. So we'll see how to go about scoring with an inverted index. Okay, so that's critical to being able to quickly find your documents that's the whole point of doing all this indexing, is we should be able to compute the scores for BM25, for example, very quickly, which is what you do on homework 4. And then you should be able to hopefully evaluate your results. I forget exactly what I asked you to do on homework 4, but with the evaluation scripts that you had, that you came up with on homework 3. And again, so back in homework 4, now you'll be back using basically all the code that you've used so far from homework 1 to homework 3 to get homework 4 done. Then we'll return to ranking, and we'll talk about the language modeling approach to information retrieval, which is something you should know about. I'll note we are now moving into an era of deep learning and these very powerful language models that are all embedded inside of a neural net. We won't have time to talk about that in this course, but I do believe language modeling forms a good foundation and gives you another perspective on ranking. And it's certainly a major approach to know about. You should know what it is and how it works. I'll then be sure to fit in and cover how do we build these summaries, these query bias summaries that we have in our search results page, so that in homework 5 you can actually now build the interactive portion of your engine. Basically, the idea would be you load your index up and someone should be able to type in a query and you do the retrieval and you build the little summary results, the surrogates so that then someone could say, yes, I'd like to view result number 5, and then you would go fetch that document and show them document number 5. And then after they viewed that document, then they are back to the search results list. All right, so that's really nice. So then you will have gone from homework 1 to homework 5, building a complete search engine that can return results interactively with nice summaries for people to view instead of just, document 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And as well, you will know how to evaluate changes to a search engine, to actually know whether or not, as you change the algorithm or other parameters, whether or not you're actually making an improvement, and be able to do all of those with an offline test collection. This is just so cool. I love it. All right. After the summaries, then we'll go and talk about relevance models. This is an example of blind feedback, also known as pseudo-relevance feedback. It gives us lets us see some really powerful ideas that came out of the language modeling approach to IR. Talk about this idea of it's really a better way to estimate the parameters of a query. And then it's an idea that actually shows up in other places in science as well. So it's a nice thing for us to talk about. And then we're basically rounding out and finishing up the course. I might talk about some of the research I've done, give you some notions of where things are headed, and so far. But basically, we'd be wrapping things up at that point. So this is the reading, which will largely cover us through all. I could double check. I should really fast. Just a moment. Well. You can always just pause the video or fast forward it. 7. Yes. So all of this, this is gets us through the language modeling. Actually, when I talk about relevance models down here, this is actually, I might as well add it just so that you know that this is takes us then, where does that go? Yeah, 261. So relevance models, this is 261 to 266. All right. So that's basically that. Summaries are not really covered in the textbook. I'll just cover them in lecture. Yeah, and the language modeling is that material from 250. Yep. Oh, 250 starts with BM25. So this takes us, this is the BM25 to language modeling in the 231 to 244. Yeah, this gets us into the basics of ranking, the basics of cosine similarity and things. Then we move on to BM25 language modeling, and then this back here is dealing with you're like, why is this not the most smooth lecture? And the answer is, it's just not going to be. This is getting us to go through how are we scoring with inverted indexes? And then, yes, and then we really get into scoring with inverted indexes. We've already done the index construction. That's basically some of the stuff you've already read. And then finally, the really critical stuff is when we get to this query processing. And so this is the really important stuff to be able to do the scoring bit. Anyway, that's the reading. My apologies for looking it up now and not annotating it earlier. Anyway, I thought you would like some perspective. I like to go over reading in this fashion to present it on a board like a normal lecture. Yep, this is where we're headed. All right.